YouTube free speech. Listen when he speaks the truth.
Hello, fellow lovers of liberty. My name is Matthew Gall.
And I'm Robert Logan, and welcome back to the Journalistic Revolution. Today's main topic is going to be centered around the division that we see in the liberty movement today. What we are not going to do is tell you to agree with everyone. What we're going to offer today is a way to disagree, yet still move forward towards liberty.
Today we're going to try and show how we can use Sun Tzu's Art of War in non-violent ways. Also, we're going to address the Ron Paul versus Gary Johnson debate that has become the point of aggression with so many who were united just a month ago.
One of the points that Sun Tzu brings up in the Art of War is secure the best information available, protect the sources and processing capabilities from compromise. In layman's terms, it's basically that we now have people in positions of power in the Republican Party who were put there by the Ron Paul movement. We need to make sure that they are protected because they're going to be privy to information that we were not previously privy to. One of my favorite points that he brings up is to study the past and market analysis and develop to maintain an edge. Basically, studying the past, well, we've learned a lot of things in the Republican National Convention, didn't we? One of those things is that we've learned that they're willing to go to any capabilities to make sure that they keep the liberty movement out of the Republican Party.
Another point that Sun Tzu makes is to strive to become the superior force in more than mere numbers. This is achieved through focused knowledge and experience, which in turn is gained by studying and observing situations, conditions, people, and events, remembering what was observed, comparing the observations to one another as well as to contemporary circumstances, and by disciplined application of the results by the observations in the pursuit of strategic objectives.
Basically, in layman's terms, what that is we need to not just be concerned about awakening other people. I mean, we're all concerned about awakening other people, and when you can, please do. But we need to become more efficient. We need to make sure that we look at what we did wrong and what we did right in the movement thus far and extrapolate on that. Make sure that we're doing it the extremely best we can.
Also, it speaks to observing, and that's one of my favorite things. Observe. Pay attention to what the other movement is doing, the anti-movement, if you will. Pay very close attention. Watch your back, so to speak. Make sure that I like to use the analogy that life is a chess game. It's the same thing. Use their next move to think 10 moves forward.
Another point in Sun Tzu's Art of War, which I think is really important, is know yourself, your opposition, and the environment within which interaction will occur. We actually did pretty well with that inside the movement up until they started breaking the law. We knew what the rules were of the RNC. We used the rules against them. They didn't like that, and of course, therefore, changed the rules. But we were prepared. We weren't prepared for the reaction, but we were definitely prepared for the environment for which we were going to be in.
Next is keep attention of all resources and related actions focused on achieving strategic objectives as promptly as possible. Avoid becoming distracted by the nuances and intricacies of implementing complex strategies and tactics.
Basically, we actually did pretty good there too. During the RNC, they canceled on Monday. But of course, we all knew they didn't cancel. They still had a gavel process. But because we kept attention on all of our resources and related actions, all the delegates were informed to arrive on Monday anyway, which stopped them from pushing through the vote without us there on Monday. Granted, they did it anyway on Tuesday, but we were able to at least stem some of the opposition's movements.
And here it says avoid becoming distracted by the nuances. They're gonna throw all sorts of stuff at you. They're gonna. It's kind of like when they talk about Mitt Romney's tax returns. That's a distraction. That's a distraction to take people away from the facts. What's really going on?
One of the next points that Sun Tzu brings up in the Art of War is understand and guard against the inherent disadvantage in every advantageous situation. Likewise, be alert to capitalizing on advantages that occur in distressed situations. Basically, we need to be prepared for when things go wrong, and we have to have a plan for that. If we don't have a plan for that, then we have a disadvantage in a situation where we previously had the advantage.
It also means whenever they screw up, Be advantageous.
Yeah, get on it.
Jump on it.
And we've seen that. People who were recording the teleprompters during the
RNC.
During the RNC and DNC. These people were on point. They used a disadvantage to their advantage. We knew that they were going to shove these rules through anyway, but we were able to show the world that they did it illegally and breaking their own rules. Another point that Sun Tzu brings up in The Art of War is be moral and ethical in all things. We are. I mean, for the most part, libertarians are very moral, very ethical. We want truth, and if you want truth, you give truth. Now, some of these things that happened during the state conventions is we came in screaming Ron Paul. We're Ron Paul supporters. Now, I've often said that we shouldn't have done that. And being moral and ethical in all things, people say, well, then you would have had to have lied. No. Well, all you have to do is say, well, who are you here to vote for? Well, I was considering Romney.
Thinking about it.
Because thinking and doing are two different things. You didn't technically lie.
Another following point, and quote from Sun Tzu, is rely on your own preparations. Do not hope for success based on the opposition not preparing. Because I think we all learned that they very much are prepared. They're prepared to do whatever it takes. And even though we're not prepared to break our morals and ethics, we need to make sure we're prepared, well, one, to follow through with our own plans, but also prepared to deal with their ethical or non-ethical behavior.
Absolutely. Basically, the Republican Party isn't going to destroy itself. We need to help destroy it. And I don't mean like, there's no Republican Party ever again. I'm all for choice. But we need to minimalize their importance and bring out more importance in individual freedoms and liberties. The next point that Sun Tzu brings up in The Art of War is disciplined emotions. Minimize emotional influences such as hope, fear, and greed. We're emotional creatures as far as it comes to being human. And then being a libertarian, we're that much more emotional. We need to tone that down just a little bit. I'm not saying don't get emotional and don't be passionate in your movement, but look at how many disenfranchised Ron Paul supporters there are now. And it's because they had so much hope in just one man and not in the movement as a whole. And that is very counterproductive for the movement.
Ensure clear communication in all aspects of the development, testing, and implementation of strategies and tactics.
Clear communication. Now, we do have that, but in the separation and the division that we've seen in the liberty movement today, communication's not doing that great. I mean, even with the Ron Paul campaign itself, they stopped communications with us during the key points of the convention. Well, I mean, we only got, what was it in our last episode? We said like 2 to 3 emails in 4 months from the Ron Paul campaign, and they separated themselves from the movement. When communication is lost, we lose the ability to cohesively come together and move forward in the liberty movement. Another point is deception and shaping, which goes back to being more moral and ethical. Practice deception in plans, strategies, tactics, and its corollary. Basically, again, when we went into the state conventions, we shouldn't have mentioned that we were Ron Paul supporters. We should have kept quiet and just say we're there to judge everybody as a whole.
Doug Weed was basically, I'm going to paraphrase here, basically stated that the whole delegate movement was based on deception. Are we accusing Ron Paul campaign of being unethical and immoral? No. They had a strategy, and that the strategy was based on the rules that the RNC placed, and we used it against them. It was a deception. And eventually they had to come out and say it once the opposition knew what they were up to. But they got them pretty far.
Yeah, 11 states, I think it was in total. Before
they totally used the rules against us. But yeah, deception is not, we use these words like infiltrate and deceive and deception. They're not all bad things. It's just how you implement them.
Exactly. And the opposite side of this is avoiding being deceived and shaped. Take precautionary steps to being deceived by the opposition. We actually did very well on this point, and I think that that's something we definitely still need to hold on to. When they tried to cancel on Monday but still do a gavel hearing, we made sure all our delegates were there. When people were putting out the racist remarks of Ron Paul early in the campaign, we were able to push that down and show that it wasn't him, he wasn't involved, and he disavowed them. Patience, positioning, and timing. Develop patience and discipline in positioning and timing the use of all resources and adapting to an ever-changing circumstance. We did all right. You know, we definitely were disciplined in positioning ourselves and in our timing, but patient, I really wouldn't call the Liberty Movement patient. We're actually, that's one of the things that define the Liberty Movement. We want it now, and we deserve it now, but we got to be realistic here, guys. We're not going to get it right now. And we learned that with the RNC and everything that's happened over the last 2 years, and especially in 2008.
Yeah, you got to understand that everything that's going on now, it's been going on for 5 years. Before that, they've had over 100 years to shape who they've become. So in order to undo that, it's not going to happen in 5 years. And God, I hope it doesn't take 100.
Yeah, that's absolutely. And you also, here's just a off-subject kind of point that I want people to tell Democrats and Republicans when you're in a debate with them. They were the same party in the 1800s. They were called the Democratic Republicans, and the split came because of slavery and taxes. Guess who wanted slavery, and guess who wanted to get rid of it? Make sure you bring that up next time you're in a debate. We're not going to go over everything in Sun Tzu's Art of War, because in reality, the Liberty Movement is part of educating yourself. So please go and read Sun Tzu's Art of War. But I would like to go over a couple of quotes.
So let me elaborate on that. It's more than just reading it. It's studying it. It's knowing it. Many of you have bought all of Ron Paul's books, Thomas Woods, Peter Schiff.
Glenn Beck before he went crazy.
Before he went crazy. You watch Adam Kokesh's videos. You watch T-Mott. You watch Ron Paul speeches 20 times. I know I have done all those things.
I can almost recite the what if speech like from memory.
But if you want to be effective in the movement, whether you're in the position of politics or you're in the position of journalism or activism, study it, know it, quote it, use it, and use it to teach others how to push the movement forward.
In non-violent ways.
The goal is to keep pushing it forward. Not to just to settle for what we have, but to...
in any way that you can. We're not saying get involved in politics. We're not saying get involved in activism or journalism or in cop watch. But you have to be involved in some front.
Sign bombs, money bombs,
civil disobedience.
Civil disobedience. What is it? Jury nullification.
Oh yeah, I love jury nullification. Another quote: "Be extremely subtle, even to the point of formlessness. Be extremely mysterious, even to the point of soundlessness. Thereby, you can be the director of your opponent's fate." Goes back to what we were saying earlier. We're boisterous. We love to go Ron Paul, but that probably wasn't the best idea. If we would have came in and we would have subtly pushed for these rules changes and subtly elected the delegates and subtly elected the chairmen, they would have never known we were Ron Paul supporters, and we would have been able to better direct the delegation process in the Republican National Convention.
And even after it came out what we were up to, all of a sudden, like, all bets were off. It was Ron Paul, Ron Paul, Ron Paul. That subtleness should have still been there.
The opportunity to secure ourselves against defeat lies in our own hands, but the opportunity to defeating the enemy is provided by the enemy himself. We saw that with the scripted rules changes, and they gave us the opportunity to record it and thereby give it to the whole world, and it was reported by Ben Swan on both the Republican and Democratic National Conventions.
Now, this is where a lot of the problem lies, and this is kind of why we got started in doing this. The journalistic revolution to us is more than just a name, and we certainly aren't the ones who started it. We were inspired by guys like Matt Larson, Adam Kokesh, T-Mott, and others. And that's kind of what we want. We want an explosion of media. We want everybody to pick up a camera, pick up a microphone, get in people's faces, ask questions, Find the truth and exploit it. Tell the
Shout
truth.
out to We Are Change. Supreme excellence consists in breaking the enemy's resistance without fighting. Victorious warriors win first, then go to war, while defeated warriors go to war first, then seek to win. Honestly, and please, everybody who was involved in the delegation process and everything, don't hold this against me. We kind of did that. We ran out to go fight the war and then started deciding what we had to do to win. We should have had that ready to go. Everybody who was involved in the Ron Paul delegate process, and I'm sure there were some of you out there, should have been meeting up before the state conventions ever took place and decided what your strategies were going to be. And like I said, I guarantee that there were some states who did that. I can guarantee also there were some that didn't. Oh, going back to the deception and being moral. If you are far from the enemy, then make you believe you are near. Pretend inferiority and encourage his arrogance. Duh. You know, like, seriously, I mean, this is what I mean about protecting our sources too, especially those within the Republican Party and the military. We need to not point out who's giving us this information. And according to journalistic ethics, we're not supposed to tell who's giving us this information unless they want to come out for it. Now, more to the point about the division that we're seeing right now. Regard your soldiers as children, and they will follow you into the deepest valleys. Look on to them as they were your own beloved sons, and they will stand by you even unto death. Now, I'm not asking you to die.
No.
But why are we fighting against each other here, guys? I mean, we need to love each other. Wasn't that the whole point of the love-evolution? We need to help people in their respective fronts. We can't be going, oh, well, you're only doing activism and protesting. You're not involved in politics. What you're doing is pointless. Or saying, oh, you're only involved in politics, so what you're doing is pointless. It's not. It's all necessary and all needed.
And this kind of goes along with the Garrett Johnson versus Ron Paul debate. Look, folks, whoever you decide, this is part of being liberty-minded, free-minded people. They're not all going to agree on every little thing. And that's the point, isn't it? I mean,
I thought so.
I mean, I don't agree with him 100%, and he doesn't agree with me 100%. And we do a show together. I don't care who you're voting for. I really don't. November 6th is coming. I'm not going to spend the next 2 months trying to change people's mind. I mean, I have my own reasons, and if somebody asks me, I'll be gladly to give it who I'm voting for. But instead of fighting one another, instead of, well, you should write Ron Paul's name in because he did so much for the movement, blah, 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 doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. All that does is it creates a distraction, which is what they want. And it creates infighting, and eventually you got to split. And who wins?
No one.
No one. Well, they win.
No, not us.
Not us.
A moment of hope, if you will, even though you shouldn't embrace hope too much. When envoys are sent with compliments in their mouths, it is a sign that the enemy wishes for a truce. Anybody else remember the Ron Paul? What was it? The video that they did at the RNC.
Oh, that 4-minute video that espoused 30 years of a man's career in politics.
It was a tribute. A tribute.
A tribute.
They
4
came,
minutes.
They came with compliments in their mouth. As a matter of fact, even Rand Paul talking about solidarity between the libertarians and the Republicans, and complimenting that they've influenced the Republican platform so much. That's them begging for a truce. That's, hey guys, you guys did real good. Could you shut up?
and that's what they want. It's a false truce. It's a truce that, oh yeah, you get what you want, and we get what we want. But in reality, getting them to shut us up is exactly what they want.
And that's what the truce would bring.